Welcome everybody to another episode here on the O'Shea Duke Jackson channel. I'm so glad to have you here in the building. I appreciate the people that were waiting. We have 14 people waiting on the stream. And this is sort of like a hall of game today because we're going to be talking about some really great principles, how you brothers, some of you sisters out there who are watching, how to real estate invest or invest in real estate rather with any budget. Today I'm here with Dr. Kenyon Meadows, MD, who has a new YouTube channel that has been launched called InvestDOC. And that's exactly as you see it there. I want you to go ahead and subscribe to him on that channel. Very talented brother. He's been on here before. I'll let him introduce himself and talk about what his channel is about.
Hey, thanks, O'Shea, for having me back on. Audience, you may remember me from, I think it's been several months since I've been on last time, O'Shea, under the Alternative Financial Medicine title. That was the name of my first self-published book. Decided to kind of shorten things up, make it a little bit more friendly to say, but the mission is still the same. You know, I want to be a resource for YouTube in general, Black YouTube specifically, since we need to get the knowledge in the game, the mess in the realm of investing. Okay, so I'm the person to talk to. You know, once you stacked it up a little bit and got some extra, and want to put it to work in a way that will generate more money for you. So the focus of the InvestDOC channel is all the things that I am into, such as rental property, private lending, buying cash flow paying stocks, things of that nature. That's the main push of the channel.
Now, let me say this. Let me ask a question because obviously you are a medical doctor oncologist. I'm
Correct.
trying to get to not that level, but to the primary care situation.
Understood. Yes. I should mention that. That's right. Yeah, I'm a full-time practicing MD, oncologist. Deal with cancer on a daily basis. So that's my day job. And I hope to, in this year here, be a real force for change in our community, inspire some people to buy some assets, learn about investing, because that's a passion of mine. You know, behind the scenes, I'm always learning about this stuff. I interact with people. I teach people in my family, friends, colleagues, even. So why not to the manosphere and YouTube in general? You know.
But let me ask you this. And the reason why I'm saying that because when at least when I was growing up, doctor, lawyer, people say, "Oh man, you know, your problems are solved." But some people want to know. I mean, yeah, you already make a whole lot of money. You know, oncologists make a ton of money. Doctors in general make a lot of money. Why are you so passionate about investing when you already have a job that makes so much money?
Well, you know, it's, you know, I'm not going to lie, you know, I do well and everything. It's one of those things, though, man, where, you know, ultimately, O'Shea, you know, I'm an employee, though. I'm a well-paid employee. Right. And while I am secure and everything, I began to think about, you know, hey, how can I build some real wealth on my own and generate some cash flow and income that was separate from all, you know, depending on how many hours I put in at the office, you know, how many patients I see, how many treatment plans I do. So you're right. You know what I mean? But I'm thinking of it more on the standpoint of real financial independence. And I define that as if you have passive income coming in that can support you, even if you don't go to work. You know what I mean? So that's a real passion of mine, you know, and there are ways to do it. And I think a lot more people would be interested in learning about it. So that's the reason. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. We got all the brothers in here that I'm gonna do it with another stream. Andre, thank you, brother Andre, brother Gabe, brother keep it techie. You know, brother Iceberg, thank you, brother. Let me ask you this. Another thing too is, I mean, we're going to talk about. You have a presentation with some slides, right? That we're going to be showing.
Sure, we'll get into that in a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Let me ask you another question though, because the title is how to invest on any budget. Now, someone like you, who is already in the top 10% of earners, when people look at real estate and they look at the amounts of money that real estate costs, they will say, well, I mean, obviously it's easier for you. I mean, because I mean, number one, you're obviously you're a bright guy, you have a high intellect, and you make a lot of money. I don't make the kind of money that you do. I'm not a doctor.
Correct.
I mean, how can I use the same principles when I'm not even, you know, making 30% of what you're making? How can I be successful like you in this?
Well, it's all about scale, right? So there are certain things in real estate that traditionally we think of like, hey, I want to go flip a house or I want to go buy a rental property, right? So
Mm-hmm,
you're
mm-hmm,
talking several $1,000s, tens of thousands, maybe 100,000, right? But there are parallel ways to go that require a tenth of what that would be, right? So there is a way to participate in a house flip if you got $500 to $5,000. It's called real estate crowdfunding. Look
mm-hmm,
for a video on that real soon. I've done plenty of projects, even though I can afford to flip a whole house myself. I've done some of the real estate crowdfunding because number one, I wanted to see how it worked. And number two, I saw really early on, hey, this is a way for people that don't have a ton of money to still play in that space a little bit. You know what I mean? So that's one
mm-hmm,
aspect of it. And then when it comes to owning real estate, right? Like buying a rental property, again, the typical barrier to entry, several $1,000s or whatever. But like we're gonna get into today, you can buy you can buy real estate stock, in essence, real estate investment trusts, which we're going to get into, that give you
mm-hmm,
fractional ownership of income producing property, and you can buy it 20-40 bucks at a time. You know what I mean? So there's always parallels for folks that have lower incomes to get into the game. But that's part of my mission with the channel, right? Like how can
mm-hmm.
I put to use a spare 50 or 100 bucks a month or something like that just to get started? And the thing I'm trying to get people to do is, O'Shea, once you get a passive dollar that comes to you
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't do anything for it except invest a while ago for it, it,
Mm-hmm.
it it gets addictive, man. Just like any other money making activity, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you go to work and you get paid well for work, you incline to work more, right? You
Mm-hmm.
you put out some good content, and it gets a lot of views and it brings you money. You're inclined to do it, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
I have lots of investments that I've put that money to work months or even years ago, right? And it just produces money. You know what I mean? I don't have to do anything for it. And so
Mm-hmm.
you can get a taste of that really no matter what income level you at. You really
Let,
can.
let me ask you this, because I mean,
Mhm.
I obviously you've been on some really big real estate podcasts
Yes.
featured there, as well as interviews that have done very well. You've been on my channel,
Yes.
and you just asked me before about my investment, and I was like, oh well, but
All right.
you get something that you're also African American, and you know how brothers and sisters tend to think. We don't really understand the power of passive income.
Correct.
Why
Correct.
do you think that is?
Well, to take it way back, man, our the legacy of us in this country, right? We were brought over as a labor class, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
of course, slavery is a whole different thing, but just to talk about it in a strictly economic sense, we were brought over as a forced labor class, right? Unpaid and everything. And then after we got our freedom, with the sharecropping and era, that was we were an unfairly compensated labor class, right? And then even once we got our civil rights and we're able to integrate into larger society and everything, even still, right, for a long time in our community, what was viewed as the top thing to do, hey, I can get a good job now, a stable job, the school system, the post office, to this, to that, that's always been sort of viewed as the pinnacle of what we can be. So I think for African Americans, our existence in this country has always been as a labor class, and that's
Mm-hmm.
directly tied to your efforts at your job producing income. And
Mm-hmm.
because we haven't really been tied in on the capital side of the structure,
Mm-hmm.
banks, lending institutions,
Okay.
that kind of stuff, that you got to start. You got to be tied in there to really think about passive income and investing on a large scale community basis. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the reasons why we don't think about it in those terms.
Wow, that's a great explanation. And guys, thanks so much. I see people already are subscribing to the InvestDOC channel. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell. And on my other channel, I'm going to try to see if we can get them to 1,000 subscribers tonight.
Oh man,
So let's see if
that'd be amazing.
we can do
Yeah.
that. We want to take care of our people. Dr. Meadows, let me ask you. Let me take you back if I can.
Mm-hmm.
Way before you knew any of us.
Yes.
Your first interest in buying the first home that you did? What triggered that process? And
No.
let's talk about that, because for a lot of people, this will be their first time. What are some of the things you're thinking about? If you can kind of go back there, if you can remember,
Yeah,
what was
sure.
that process
Absolutely.
like?
Absolutely. So, to take it back to the beginnings of my financial life as a physician, right? So I finished training in 2006.
Okay.
Had about $190,000 of student loan debt, which I'm sure you can understand, O'Shea, going through this medical
Oh
thing.
yeah.
You know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah.
So, for a while, the first couple years out of practice, I was putting everything I could to try to retire that student loan debt off, right? And
Mhm.
then right in 2008, I finally started having a little extra money to try to put it into the stock market, right? Because that was pretty much the orthodox financial advice that you got, and I started to do that, right? And of course, I did take the big hit in 2008 with the market going down, the financial crisis, and it took a while to recover from that, and that got me thinking, okay, well, what else can I do besides just sort of passively invest in a mutual fund and that kind of thing? What else is out there? And that's what got me originally thinking about investments in the first place. And then, it basically turned into like just asking everybody in my network, colleagues, whoever, hey, what do you do with your money other than the stock market? And then eventually I got around to meeting some people who were into real estate in a real serious way. And back in 2013, I started to get into real estate. And my first thing was actually I was on the financial side of things. I was financing people who were flipping houses basically and supplying them the money. So that was my first entree into real estate in any real serious way.
Wow,
Hmm.
and that's interesting to start
Hmm.
off. People end up maybe doing that later.
Yeah.
You
Well,
started off doing it. Okay.
yeah, I started off doing it, man, because so we for everybody that's seen a Flip This House show on HGTV
Oh
network and all
yeah,
that,
yeah.
right? So one of the things they don't oftentimes talk about on there is the financial side of things in terms of where the people that are going to flip the house, where do they get the money, right? I think
Mhm.
intuitively we know they don't go to a bank, right? Well,
Mhm.
people that flip houses in a serious way, like this is their business, like they're flipping 20, 30 houses a year, they have networks of high net worth individuals like me in their Rolodex, basically. And it's like, hey, I got this project here, man. I need 50 or 100 grand. I'll pay you 15% on your money. I need it for 6, 8 months. It's going to take me to do to acquire the house, rehab it, sell it, and you can collect your nice interest payments in the meantime, kind of deal. That's the world of private lending and private mortgages and whatnot, right? And
Mhm.
that appealed to me because, number one, it was passive, and number two, just like the bank, right?
Mhm.
My company was the first was on that mortgage note, right? So I actually had dibs to that house if that person didn't do what they said they were going to do in terms of flipping it and selling it. So it was a secured way to make a very attractive rate of return, and for me it was a way that I could deploy a nice chunk of money, all at once. You know what I mean? So that was the initial thing in the real estate, and then I started to learn, like, hey, that's great. You're making a nice return on your money, but you're not building any real wealth and equity. And you got to take that plunge and actually buy something that you own. And so about a year later, I bought my first rental property back in 2014, and I've slowly built things up over time.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, I that might be a personal question, but Jessica, she says, how much was the first property that he bought? Just
Yeah, the very first rental property I bought was $75,000, and I'll just to tell you a little bit what my niche is in real estate. I buy what's called workforce housing, meaning they're single family homes,
Mhm.
and they basically are meant to appeal to people who make that median household income in the United States, which is about $58,000, right?
Mhm.
And they rent for anywhere between $900 to $1,100 a month. They're 3 2s, 3 bathroom, 2 bedroom houses, about 11 to 1,200 square feet. They
Mhm.
appeal they appeal to family units, male, female with some kids, and they tend to stay for a long time, multiple years, as opposed to like an apartment complex. So my real estate mentor, that's what she was into, and by extension, that's what I am into. So that's what we do.
Okay. Okay. So,
And I should mention, and real quick, I should
sure.
mention, I'm not sure if the links are being posted in the chat and whatnot, but
Okay.
there is if you look on the private chat we got there, O'Shea, you see that second link where it says investdoc.com ebook. If
Yeah.
folks want to click on that link, if you could post that in the general chat,
Sure.
that will detail, it's called Buy Your First Rental. That will detail how I buy rental property in terms of, what markets I like, what price I like to pay, what I like to renovate in them, in terms of, I don't put granite countertops in there, but we don't do things on the cheap either, so all that kind of detail is in that ebook, and that'll also get people on my list. So if folks are interested. Yeah.
And then also, we want to make sure, I told you today will be, hopefully we can make it the day of the 1,000. So if not doing it,
that'd be amazing. That would
be amazing, right? So
yeah,
I do amazing stuff sometimes, not all the time. So we have 668 subscribers.
Okay.
I think you had 641, right?
Correct, coming in, yeah.
641. So I have opportunity to do that. I'm gonna try to all our investment people, we want to try. Hopefully, we can get them monetized.
And the other thing I want to mention to the crowd too, I took a stab at this YouTube thing a couple of years ago, and quite frankly, I didn't stick with it. And one of the things that's going to help me stick with it is for the folks that join the email list and whatever, give me some questions, ask me some stuff. I got a million things going on, but I will, if I feel that the community, really needs this, right, and all that will help keep me going. So, I'm just putting that out there too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, we need people to subscribe and ask questions to open up this kind of content for this sector.
But I am committed to putting out at least one video a week. I mean, and that's not a ton on the YouTube space, but that would be a ton for me. Anyway, going forward for this year.
Okay. Let me just ask a question before, and we are going to have the presentation, right? So
sure.
We're going to do that in just a second. But thank you for subscribing, Time Bandit. How do you pay for capital upgrades, roof, HVAC, stuff like that?
Man, absolutely. So so my mentor in this game, that's all she does is she acquires distressed properties, right? So these are houses, they've been trashed, they've been sold on the courthouse steps for tax liens, that kind of stuff, really cheaply. And so, if you can acquire the property pretty cheap, one of the things we generally do, and it's detailed in the ebook, we want to take care of those big ticket items that could cost you a lot during the first years of ownership. And we want to go ahead and just deal with that. So that would be the roof, the HVAC, the plumbing, and the electrical. So generally speaking, we're going to put new of that into these rental houses, and that's to us, if you can't really afford to do that, then we don't think you should buy the property, because the only thing that we want to deal with in those first few years of ownership is relatively small stuff, a toilet, a dishwasher, a window, small level stuff. But we do not want to be outlaying several $1,000s for like a major system in the house. So that's part of our process is to handle that stuff up front.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. And then so thanks again. And Black is 90 also is doing some real estate investing out there in Atlanta. Okay, so I guess let me also talk to you about the InvestDOC. So you have real estate. What other kind of content?
Yeah. So a lot of people on the internet, I'm noticing, they have real estate channels. There's some people that have some very successful stock channels and everything. And so, what's the common theme of my channel? Well, I'm an income investor when it all comes down to it, right? So I talk about pretty much anything that I've done in an investing world that produces income. So of course, owning a rental property, yes, that produces income. Buying a dividend paying stock, that produces income. So we talk about that. The private mortgage lending, right? That produces income. We talk about that. And number 4 is there are some conservative, and I emphasize the word conservative, ways to trade stock options that also produce income. So those are the 4 pillars of the channel, right? And I know some people are asking, man, how could you be into all those different things? Well, I've paid for coaching and direct mentorship really in all of these things. And so, and I've been doing it now for years. And so that's my thing. So I know that I can talk it, and some folks can benefit from it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me do this. Can we take some questions before the presentation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Let's take some questions, and guys, y'all not gonna be questioning it up all day. But let me see this. Ask him about cross-country real estate investments.
Cross country. Well, it's interesting, right? So I'm in Southeast Georgia, right? I'm about an hour away from Jacksonville, Florida, and Jacksonville, Florida is where all of my rental property is. So again, about an hour away. And the reason that evolved there is because that's where my real estate network really is, in terms of people that mentored me and own a lot of property in the same neighborhoods that I do. So I don't invest where I live, but I'm not that far. Like if for whatever reason I needed to jet down there for like an emergency or something like that, it wouldn't be that big of a deal. When I started to get into investing, though, I did explore other markets. There are companies out there called turnkey investment companies, where that's what they specialize in. Like they might be in like Cleveland or Indianapolis or something like that, and they buy investment properties, fix them up, and then they market themselves to usually high net worth individuals and say, look, hey, you want to buy a rental property? You got the cash, submit it, you buy it, we'll manage it. And it's like, boom. And there are people that buy rental property that they've never seen and is nowhere near them. I've talked to investors from California that own multiple rentals in Cleveland and that kind of stuff. So believe it or not, there are a number of people out there that if the price is right, the numbers are right, and the investment company has a good reputation, they will buy a rental property without looking at it. I wasn't that comfortable doing that. And so I've never pulled the trigger. But the point is, I know people that do that. Obviously, there's some downsides to that, right? I mean, if something's going down and, you got to kind of take the property manager's word, you can't really look at things, or it'd be really inconvenient for you to go cross country to verify what's going on. So I didn't want to go that route.
Okay. Let me do this one, and then you just let me know when you're ready to do this.
Yeah, man. Absolutely.
The part-time landlord. A very good question. I've been investing for 6 years and the market has changed a lot. Did you change your investment criteria for the recent market?
Yeah, man. So when I got started in 2014, the real estate market has really been, kind of on an upswing really since 2012. Like 2008 was the crash, and then things were kind of bad for a few years after that. And I think in 2012, we started to see some recovery, the beginnings of it, right? And so when I got into the market in 2014, things were on the upswing. And now in the same neighborhoods that I invest in Jacksonville, it's difficult to buy the properties at the same prices that we used to buy them at, right? And I used to adhere to this thing called the 1% rule, and that's something that's in my book and something that's advocated on by a lot of rental property investors. And what that says is, you want to get at least 1% of the purchase price as rent on a monthly basis, to define that as a good rental. So if the property costs $100,000 to buy, you at least want to get $1,000 a month for rent on that property. And the reason that rule is in effect is it assumes that you're going to put you're going to have a loan on the property. And that if you can make that loan payment, it basically assumes that there'll be at least a few $100 of cash flow, even after you do all your debt service, insurance, all that kind of stuff. And the rule works out pretty well. And I used to be able to get that all the time in Jacksonville. And now the neighborhoods, as the prices have gone up, man, it's gotten harder and harder to find those kind of deals. And so we've actually migrated a little bit to the outskirts of Jacksonville, some smaller areas where we can still get those numbers. So yeah, we've had to adjust a little bit in terms of where we look in the market.
Okay. So let me do a few questions. I have some people that ask more than once, but I'll try to get to them. Shout out to Kellen. That's the manager of the African Diaspora channel, which is Phil's channel. So shout out to him. Judge James said, he gave money. He gets to go first.
Okay.
Sell half my properties on contract. What does the doctor think? Should I sell? I don't know if he's me. Should I sell? Q cell. I don't know what that means.
Half my property's on contract. Okay, thanks, ODJ. Okay, okay. I'm a little
Yeah, can you restate that, Mr.
clarifying that half of it's on contract. Okay,
Okay.
because usually when you talk about contract, usually that's it's to be sold, and
Okay.
so I'm not sure about that one. Okay.
And then also we have some people that are from the UK, and they kind of want to know if some of these principles can be applied to them. I mean, I don't know. I mean, what do you when you get questions like that? You're in another country, like in UK and things like
Yeah.
that's a little bit different, right?
Yeah, I mean, the laws are different. The tenant rent laws are different. What's a reasonably priced rental unit, over there versus here. I think I don't know if the bank financing and all that kind of stuff is the same. So I can't speak intelligently about stuff in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
I know that London, like any other really expensive city, like a New York or LA or whatever, actually pretty difficult to find rental properties that adhere to that 1% rule. Usually the
Right.
properties are way too expensive for that. So that's why a lot of people from those expensive markets look for, less sexy markets like a Jacksonville or
Mm-hmm.
even Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Even though Atlanta's gotten hot, the thing is there's so many people moving there and new construction and all that. You can still get reasonably priced stuff. And of course, some people love, the Midwest where prices
Oh yeah,
definitely don't go up that much, So
yeah.
yeah.
So let me do this. That's Kellen has a question, and like it's not. I'll come back to your question in a minute, but ask
Mhm.
him about the over the counter tax liens.
Okay, so an area of real estate investing that I know about, book wise, right? In my general real estate investing journey, I tried to educate myself on a lot of different aspects of it. So I'm speaking now. I'm speaking to you from a textbook perspective, but I've not done it actively. But the bottom line is, your local municipality that's trying to collect tax revenue, the property taxes you get every year, they actually have top priority on your house above everybody, including the bank that has a loan on your house. Your local municipality gets their money first, right? So if you don't pay your taxes, in some places after a year, in other places after 2 years, that municipality has the right to put your property up for sale on the courthouse steps in what they call a tax lien auction, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you might have a house that's 100 grand, and your taxes every year are like $1,000, and if you don't pay them for a couple of years, they'll put that out for auction on the courthouse steps. And if me as an investor is like, oh, okay, I'll pay that person's back taxes, I actually have a lien on your house. Then you know what I mean. And
Mm-hmm.
some people, that's their strategy, is to buy tax liens. They count on people not paying them off, and then they wind up acquiring the property for usually the tax lien and maybe like some additional amount of money that might be owed on it, but it's usually a heck of a lot less money than what the property is actually worth. So it
Mm-hmm.
actually winds up being a good deal. I don't do tax liens; it's kind of a specialty kind of thing, but I do know people that do them. Absolutely.
Okay. Okay. All right. And there were some other questions,
So I
but
see Zachary Robinson. He
yeah,
put a
yeah, Zachary.
chat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Zach, it's interesting. I'm contemplating doing a course on that. Certainly, I want to get to a certain critical mass of folks on the channel and everything,
Mm-hmm.
and I think courses would do well for me because it's something that I can pour all my expertise into and kind of be done with it and have it be kind of a passive asset, like my book. We may throw a link up to that. There's some good gems in my book from a couple years ago. But yeah, a course may be coming. If people want it. Yeah.
Now, let me also do this.
I'm gonna
Go ahead.
pop in the little private chat link. I can't seem to access the live comments. O'Shea, is that a
You
limitation
have to
for me?
no, yeah. You have to go to the YouTube on my. You can't.
Oh, okay. I can't on the stream here. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, let me
So
do that.
and then also thank you for subscribing for people. And we do have the presentation that will be coming tonight. But 689. Do me a favor, if we can get 11 more people to
Oh, that'd be
get
great.
to 700, and I'll do the 300 tonight on hopefully on the other channel. So we can get all of you to keep subscribing, hitting the bell. Make sure you
Yeah.
are notified when he goes uploads a video, because mentorship for people that. What up, Super Trends? Good to see my brother out in Seattle. This is important information. So, like like even right now, I'm doing mentorship. I'm gonna be doing it with InvestDOC in many ways, and I'm gonna be doing it also. I'm also doing it with the African Diaspora channel. So pick up as much knowledge as you can because this wasn't available, at least to me, 10 years ago. So I'm enjoying it.
Well, yeah, I kind of view my mission, O'Shea. I could easily sort of stay in the background and continue to do what I do and network with who I network with. Most honestly, not African American.
Right.
I know some incredible people, man, that know this stuff on a level that is just amazing. And I've spent the years and the money getting schooled by them. And so I sort of view this as just, my way to pay it forward, man. And I want to inspire some folks to get some equity and some ownership and some stuff. I noticed the one person in the comments said, hey, a lot of us are not in a position to do this. I recognize it. I know the economic condition of a lot of our people, but there are ways to start very small. There are ways. Absolutely.
Let me talk to you about this whole idea of start small. That's something that I like to believe in wholeheartedly. A lot of what is the hang up that a lot of our people have with starting small and then working your way up. It seems like in the African American community,
yeah,
that's more of a hurdle to overcome.
Well, one of the hallmarks too, right? Besides us being a labor class, right? That we haven't made that leap over to the investor and business owner class in any significant way. Because of our general economic insecurity, man, one of the hallmarks of our behavior and our outlook is the short term, right? So in investing in a serious way that starts to produce real wealth that can maybe like replace your income and that kind of stuff, it's a longer game, right? And so and it requires some patient money and that kind of thing. And I'm sensitive to the fact that for us that have some extra disposable funds, right? We got relatives, we got mama, we got emergencies and everything. And so and honestly too, I think a lot of us do a lot of discretionary spending on consumer stuff to kind of just help us kind of cope and make us feel better about some things. So there's a lot of things against us, in terms on the investing side. But again, I'm trying to inspire some change and whatnot. So, but I think that's a big part of it, man. That the short termness of it, and also trying to help out other folks in our community and family, man, that ain't got it.
Okay,
that prevents us.
And let me go back to James Sandman's comment. I think the question that he wanted, because you remember the question was a little bit, I don't know if it was truncated or, but I think what he was saying is, if I'm not mistaken, not DJ Cadillac, but James Sandman. What was the question that he actually clarified what he was trying to say? But let me go back to that. And thank you, brothers, for the support. But let me go back here. I think, what the hell did he say? James, can you comment what you said, man? I know I'm being pretty dumb right now, but I forgot. Okay, here we go. I have multiple properties. Some of them I rent, and some of them I sell on contract, 3 to 10 years with a non-refundable down payment.
Oh, okay. I get what he's saying. Yeah. So again, this is a kind of another niche in real estate where I've had some tenants of mine who've been renting from me, right? And then they'll ask, hey, we really like this place that we're renting. We want to buy it off you, right? And I went down that route to explore it, selling it to them, and they couldn't quite get their credit score wasn't quite good enough to get the usual loan and that kind of stuff from the bank. And so my real estate mentor said, look, if you want to sell it to them, why don't you be the bank to them? You allow them to make whatever down payment they can make. You set the terms for how long it's going to be and what the interest rate is and all that that's selling something on contract where basically if you own it outright, you can basically be the bank to these people that want to buy it. That's what's called selling stuff on contract. And I know people that do that, right, very well too. So a lot of times, as I'm sure James can attest, you can structure it where it's a pretty good deal for you, and it's a good deal for the people that want to buy it. So I have no problem doing that. You know what I mean? And if you want to, turn your rental property into kind of a long-term mortgage note for you, you know what I mean, as opposed to a rental, that's a good way to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let me see. There was
yeah, I'm kind of scrolling back through, seeing if we missed
like
anything.
it's nice leaf purchases. Let me shout out these super chats. My brother Super Triz out in Seattle, our good brother, the very intelligent brother, bought my first fourplex in Seattle last year and looking to buy additional property next year.
Fourplex.
Hard to realtors' knowledge about investment property, but hard to maybe meant something else, but hard to sell to realtors or hard to buy from realtors.
But hard to
maybe hard to get. I don't know what he's saying. What do you think?
I think he's basically saying it's hard to find realtors that are knowledgeable in investment property. And I will definitely say that is definitely that can definitely be true. Okay, having worked with some real estate agents, right? Most real estate agents, and nothing. I don't want to say anything like bad about them. They're used to working with, how do I want to put it, retail customers. The couple that wants to buy a house, they're newly married, they got kids. The wife loves the kitchen. It's kind of an emotional transaction as opposed to working with like a hardcore investor like myself, where I've told real estate agents, hey, I'm looking for this price that'll rent for this amount and blah, blah, blah. And they still wind up coming back with like what I'd call retail deals. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And they don't really listen to what I'm saying because they're not used to working with investors. One of the things that I would do if I ever gave up medicine, say for instance, I would actually try to be a real estate agent that just worked with investors. I think you'd have a very, very strong clientele and people that would want to work with you exclusively, because most real estate agents do not know how to do that, to be honest.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see here. I have
you want to you got the maybe the slides handy, or we can maybe get into that.
Do you have them, or do you want me to get them?
Oh, well, if you got them, great. I can kind of pull them up if need be.
Let me do this. Yeah, let's see if we can. Let's try this.
I can still keep looking at. I can still keep answering some questions as they come up.
Okay, Super Triz, he says, can you? Oh, it depends on the doc. If he would like for you to come on and ask, I mean, I don't know. He wants to ask some questions directly. But
well, if you were to sign up to the email list, or again, my channel is sufficiently small right now. The few comments that I'm getting, I'm responding to them. Okay. If you join my email list and just hit reply to any of the emails that come, I'm definitely going to see James. Thank you, O'Shea. On point.
He's actually a nurse. He's actually a registered nurse. His brother right here. So yeah,
who's that?
Doctor connection. He's actually a nurse. Super Triz.
Oh, James is okay.
No. Super
Triz. Oh, okay. Yeah, man. Oh, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, it's funny. My mentor in this game, they're actually a physician and nurse couple. Now, she, as the nurse, she is basically a full-time real estate investor now herself, and had left the nursing behind. But that's actually my mentor with this whole rental thing. Okay. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely, Super Triz also I can link you two up. He also has a channel, so.
Yeah, absolutely. We can.
Yeah. Okay.
We can do something for sure.
Yeah. I can. He's a cool guy and everything. Almost as cool as me. So, yeah. I'll if you want me to connect you to by email, I can definitely do that. So he's pretty popular guy. Let's see if we can do this. I want to share my screen with you.
Okay, here we go.
So let's see how we do that.
So just to let people know, so what are we talking about? Well,
hold on a second. Let me see. Share. Yeah, sure. Is it working?
I'm not seeing.
Hold on a second. Wait. No, not share my screen. How can I share your screen? Let me do that and share.
Well, that's all me. I don't
know. That's all you. Damn it. Okay. How do y'all do this? Boom. Okay. Let me do this. Let me try to pull up the slides You're
Hmm.
myself. Okay, it's probably going to be the best thing. Now
Yeah.
it's on the other. It's on the other email. It's the K metals. Okay, hold on a second.
Yep. 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 That's it.
Okay,
Yeah.
slide one. Okay, let's do this. Boom.
You know, I
Okay.
saw somebody make a comment earlier that I wanted to kind of respond to. He was like, don't spend 100,000 to try to make 1,000 or something like that. Trade stocks instead. And I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. Oh, there we go.
Wait. No,
Now.
no, no, no,
Yep.
no, no, no. I'm messing
Okay.
up. I'm messing up, player. But
Yeah.
don't worry. You keep talking, player. We're gonna get it together. You keep talking.
Yeah. He basically made the statement, hey, don't spend that kind of money. To try to get $1,000 in rent, trade stocks instead. Well, we'll talk about both on my channel. The one thing I will say, I think that rental property, out of all the things that I do, is the best thing from the standpoint of uh, it produces some cash flow. It has some built-in tax advantages, and honestly, when you start building wealth and starting to see income come in and everything. There we go, O'Shea. Your tax bill is big. And so anything you can do to minimize that is huge. And so rental property has a lot of built-in tax advantages that come in with it, where you can get those returns and have it be tax advantage and not pay, 40% on it and everything. And then the other thing too, I would say, rental property bought properly, it has the chance to appreciate, and my rental properties have appreciated, and that's been a real kick in the pants in terms of wealth creation too. So I still think that's the number one way to go, but again, recognizing everybody can't just jump into that. We can start smaller. Okay, that's definitely the first slide, O'Shea. Yeah.
We want to go back, right?
No, no, this is the very first slide.
Okay.
So if you got the other ones kind of queued up, and this only like 6 slides, folks. That's number
Okay.
2.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
where do we start at?
Yeah, right there. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So this is one of these ways where, hey, I don't have the multiple thousands of bucks to buy my own rental property, Doc. So I don't have the money. And then the other thing people object to when you start thinking about rental property, which was my objection initially too, was I don't have the time to manage them, right? And that's before I really realized, what a good property manager can do for you. So money and time are the two big objections when it comes to owning rental or income producing property. And so one of the solutions are these things called REITs. REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust, abbreviated. And then you go to the next slide, O'Shea.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how well this is predicting or projecting. This is from a website called InvestOpedia. They do a good job in terms of just defining a lot of investment and monetary terms. So a real estate investment trust is a company that owns a variety of real estate related products, such as mortgages or different types of properties that generate income for investors, if you can read that. So these are essentially companies just like a stock, right? But instead of buying a fractional share of an Amazon, which is e-commerce, or an Apple, of course, that makes consumer electronics, the specific thing with a REIT is the REIT itself either owns a number of income producing properties. And that's important to note. This is not just one, it's multiple income producing properties, or they might own the mortgages on income producing properties. That's what a REIT is, okay? And if we go to the next slide, for every type of real estate category there is, if you could blow it up just a little bit.
Let me see what I can
I think at the
do.
bottom there. Yeah. Oh,
Is
yeah.
it big?
Yeah,
Is it
that's
good?
that tiny bit. Can you slide it over a little bit where it's cutting off some of the words to the left there?
Let me get my.
If not, we could. There we
Oh,
go.
wait.
There we go. That's great.
Okay, cool.
So for every type of real estate you can think of, there is a corresponding groups of companies called real estate investment trusts. And as you can see, this bottom green line, about 23% of them are retail. You go to the yellow, 11.8% office space, residential, industrial, healthcare. So anything that you can think of where a company or a person would pay money to rent out a space, there is a real estate investment trust that you, as the individual investor, can invest in and own a piece of that, and therefore be entitled to receive some of the income that that property generates. And just like a stock, and you got expensive stocks and you got relatively inexpensive stocks, you can buy a piece of a real estate investment trust, one small piece at a time. And we'll cover an example later on in here. The thing that's different about these things too is that by law, they are required to pay out 90% of the money that they bring in from rents and whatnot to their investors. So that the whole point of these things is to basically be income vehicles. So if they bring in $1 million in rent in a month, by law, they have to pay out 900,000 to their shareholders. And the reason they do that is to avoid being taxed at the corporate level. The shareholders are the ones that bear the tax burden. Okay, so unlike a lot of dividend paying stocks, and then of course growth stocks that don't pay any dividends, you buy REITs, excuse me, because you want some income. And the percentage they may pay you on a yearly basis, they kind of cluster in that 6 to 9% range. Some of them pay more than that. Okay, so if you're looking to, again, put some money to work that's going to generate money, above and beyond, in a money market account, or just sitting in your savings or something like that, this will be an example of a way to do it. Okay, so we can go to the next slide here.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
And let me bring it up bigger.
Yeah, if we could. Okay, so this is an example. This is something that I hold in my Robinhood account. Some of you guys might recognize the kind of classic green and black Robinhood thing. They're a stock platform that you don't pay any fees on to buy stock. So you can buy and sell for free basically, and it works pretty well. So everybody is familiar with Apple stock that makes all the consumer electronics, right? But I bet you very few people on this call are familiar with Apple Hospitality REIT. Okay, so what is Apple Hospitality REIT? Well, they are it's a hotel REIT, and if you look in the red there, what hotels do they own? A lot of brands that you all know and stay at on a regular basis: Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt. So, just like with a restaurant franchise, you've got the corporate owned stores, and then you got those stores that are owned by individual franchisees. Well, the same thing exists in hotels, where these companies own some of these very popular brands and run these hotels, right? And so if you were to buy a share of this thing, and you can see it's very modestly priced at $16 a share, say for instance, and you don't have to pay any transaction costs on that. So if you got an extra $20 in your pocket, right, you can buy a share of an income producing asset, and you would be paid, in this case on a monthly basis, part of the revenue that's generated from these very popular hotel brands, right? So that's how things work. And if we go to the next slide, okay, this is a holding where I have a decent position in it, and every month, if we can blow that up, they call them dividends, okay, and whatnot. You can think of them as rent checks, right? So in the same way that I get a rent check from my tenants in my properties that I own, I get a check every month from the Apple Hospitality REIT that's just deposited into my account, right? So again, you can start doing this and building a small position here, with $16, right? And besides the dividend that it pays you, the price of the shares can actually go up too, But again, most people, when they buy these, they're buying them from the dividend. And I think this one pays about 8% a year, So that's an example of a simple, easy way where you can actually buy some real estate and have some ownership in it. Okay, let's go to the last. I think it's the last slide. Yeah. So, what's the pros and cons of this thing? Well, number one, I think diversification and exposure. Right. There are some asset classes in REITs like self-storage facilities, nursing homes, things of this nature, that you as the normal regular investor, you would never have access to this kind of stuff otherwise to be able to invest directly in that kind of stuff. Okay. So if you want to, get exposure to some asset classes and sectors, really the only way you can do it as an individual investor is to do it through REITs. Okay. The other big one is liquidity, right? If I wanted to sell one of my rental properties, even in a hot market, right, it would take usually several weeks to do that, particularly if the person I'm selling it to needs to get a bank loan to buy it off of me. You got to get an inspection and appraisal and all this sort of stuff and whatnot. So even if somebody is hot to trot to buy one of my rental properties, that's a multiple week process. Whereas with a REIT, if you had $100,000 or $1 million portfolio with REITs, you could push a button and turn that into cash, anytime the market was open and just sell it if you wanted to. You know what I mean? So that's another big advantage there. And then now there are some disadvantages. Okay. And I think we're missing that. I think the slide went away, O'Shea.
Okay.
You can bring that back up. And we're almost done. It's pretty quick.
Let me come back to that.
So the disadvantages of REITs is that they're very much dependent on debt. Okay. Because they have to pay out by law 90% of the money that they bring in, unlike an Apple or an Amazon, like if they make a bunch of money in a quarter and they just got extra profits they're sitting on, if they want to make an acquisition, buy another company, if they want to beef up their marketing and all that, those kind of companies can do that from the profits that they make because they're not required to pay it all out to investors. Well, REITs are required to pay out essentially all their money to investors. So if a REIT wants to grow, buy some more property, advertise, do whatever, they have to constantly be borrowing money. So they're very sensitive to interest rates. Now, interest rates have been low for a decade or more, and there's no sign of them going up to any significant degree. But this is one sector that could be hurt when interest rates go back up. Okay, so to keep that in mind. But in that way, that they're not really much different than regular property, right? When interest rates go up and it's more expensive to borrow money, regular real estate gets hurt too. So it's really not that much different. And they're not the most tax efficient. A lot of times you are taxed at your normal rate of taxes with them. There are some circumstances where you can get some tax favorable status, but usually not. Okay. But again, as a first step for somebody that wanted to get started investing and say today, hey, I actually own some real estate or I got some exposure to that, REITs are a way to go. And a lot of you all own some of these things anyway in your retirement accounts at work, when you choose, to invest in certain mutual funds and this and that. A lot of mutual funds actually invest in REITs. So you might own some and you don't know it, but if you want to be more conscious about it, this is, a way to go. So that's basically it, quick and dirty, O'Shea. And if people got more questions, now there's a video that's a little bit longer than this on the channel, okay, on REITs, and of course, reach out to me with some questions after the fact.
All right. So let me see what we got here. And if you want to fill some questions, I know you're pretty good on time management and stuff like that. But thanks for everybody that's been super chatting. I'll shout you out before the show ends. You want to fill some questions for a few minutes, or?
Yeah, absolutely, man. We're not quite at the hour mark,
All right, yeah, I know because you're real good at that. Well, I gotta go after.
So, well, I'd rather come back and do it more frequently. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, absolutely.
So we got like 7 minutes, guys. So make sure in that we have 713 subscribers for you now. I would like to see if we can get 30 more. So make sure that link that I'm putting there, you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Because
please.
We definitely
so
want to do that.
I'm gonna be putting out a video sometime in the next few days. It's called the $5,000 house flip, and basically what that is how to participate in this house flipping game with if you've got $500 to $5,000 as opposed to $50,000 using real estate crowdfunding. So that's my next video. So you want to definitely hit the notification button there so you can get that.
Let's talk about the real estate crowdfunding situation. That is a sort of well, I didn't even know people were doing that. Shout out to Andre Hatchett. I didn't know people were doing that for real estate. I did kind of find out they were doing it for small businesses, investments, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But kind of talk to me about this real estate crowdfunding and have you had success with it and stuff like that?
Well, the short answer is yes. Now, it's a relatively new asset class. You know, the first real estate investment crowdfund sites came out in late 2012, and I got on it in 2013, which still made me a pretty early adapter to it. So basically, what's the main thing they do? Well, they crowdfund real estate debt. You know, these private mortgages that we talk about, the fix and flip loans or whatever. So basically, some real estate entrepreneurs, if they want to flip a house or whatever, what they'll do is they'll list the project on one of these real estate crowdfunding sites. The crowdfunding site's job is to do due diligence on the person that wants to borrow the money, and due diligence on the house to be flipped, to basically verify that what they're saying is true. And then what they'll say is, okay, look, this I need to borrow 100 grand. You know, maybe 60 grand is to buy the house. 30 grand is to renovate it, and I think I can sell it for 150, right, or something like that. Okay. So the real estate crowdfunding platform's job is to verify, yes, all this seems to be true, and this person has the capacity to do the work that they say they're going to do. And if they approve it, they say, look, okay, well, instead of reaching out to one or two people to get that 100 grand, let's throw this out to our whole network of people that are on the crowdfunding site, and maybe everybody take 1,000 of it. You know what I mean? So you got 100 people chipping in $1,000 on that house flip, right? And the same way that they might pay an individual investor like myself, you know, maybe 15% or something like that on their money during the time that they got the house flip, everybody that's put in that $1,000 is going to earn 15% on their money. So that's essentially one of the main things that real estate crowdfunding is about, right? And that's some of the things I'll cover on my video. So there are some platforms out there now. What's been a barrier to entry for a lot of normal people to get into real estate crowdfunding? Well, most of the sites initially, you had to be a high net worth individual to even have access to it, even though you were only going to put up $500 or $1,000 in the project, which in the grand scheme of things might not be like a ton of money, but you still had to be like a high net worth individual to even be able to risk that small amount of money. Now, there are some sites out there that will basically let anybody invest, you know, and that's some of the ones I'll talk about in my next video, where you can put in like $100 or $200 or something like that. So again, it's kind of, you know, get your feet wet, and you can track the project. You know, they'll show you on the project, hey, you know, the flooring got laid, you know, the dishwasher got replaced. So you can kind of watch it, you know, kind of getting rehabbed and everything. And they notify you when the property's up for sale, and then when it sells, and then, you know, and you ultimately get your money back and your return, you know. So it's a, you know, I've enjoyed doing it. I've probably participated in about 40 or 50 real estate crowdfunding ventures. Now, some of them haven't worked out, and that's something to keep in mind. So we'll talk about some of the risks there, but yeah. So I see Super Triz here. Thoughts on Rust Belt investment properties? Well, being an Ohio boy myself, you know, from Youngstown, Ohio, and Cleveland and everything, you know, I know the Rust Belt well. You know, I grew up there, and I went back and looked into Cleveland about potentially investing and everything. Here's my knock on the Rust Belt in the Midwest. When you look at what are the two fundamental things that drive rental property valuations in terms of, hey, is your property have a chance to appreciate, and can you raise the rents? It's really jobs and population growth.
There you go.
And in the Midwest, the Clevelands of the world and whatnot, if
people leaving.
If you look at the population trends over time, it's going down, and that limits your ability to raise rents and to have your property appreciate. I did some due diligence where I talked to some people that own rental property in Cleveland, and while the cash flow was very good, they were worried about like what their exit was going to be. You know, who am I going to sell this to? You know, they don't have really the ability to push up rents and that kind of thing. So I generally avoid the Midwest, to be honest, Super Triz.
Yeah, I know, like Cincinnati, for example, had like 500,000 people like maybe 15, 20 years ago, and it's down to like 260,000. So Ohio
Yeah.
one of the number one states in America. People are actually leaving
Leaving it,
from.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, when I graduated high school, O'Shea, from Youngstown, which Youngstown, Ohio, used to be actually a big steel producing city. So
Oh
up
yeah.
until the 70s, we had like 150, 200,000 people in there. So it was a decent sized little city. Now it's down to like 70,000 people, right? And everybody that was graduating in my era from there in the early to mid 90s, everybody's parents was like, man, get out of here, man. Don't, go somewhere else. And so now I'm down in the Sun Belt, there's 1,500 people that moved to Jacksonville moved to Florida on a daily basis. Think about that. 1,500 people move to Florida every day. So, so if I'm going to invest somewhere in real estate, that's a built-in, ability to raise rents and stuff like that, which I've experienced. Stuff that I rented for $900 a couple years ago is renting for $1,100, $1,150, that kind of deal. So that's I would say to invest somewhere where the population is going up. Yeah.
Okay.
And older said the Rust Belt is good. Is that why they call it Rust? Because it was yeah. And that actually is part of it. And that's another question here too. Somebody, when you look at REITs, do you look at them? Okay, this was Matt Blaylock. Do you normally analyze them from a fundamental side or it's a fundamental thing with REITs, man. REITs, just like any other stock, where they do their earnings, they talk about how much money they made in a quarter and all that kind of stuff. The REITs do the exact same thing, man. So the hospitality or the hotel REITs, they talk about occupancy rates. They talk about if they're getting hurt by Airbnb in this particular market and this and that, and they report how much cash flow it is. So it's that same kind of thing. You know what I mean? Technical analysis is, that's kind of more on the trading side of things, and we could talk about that. But I look at REITs fundamentally, man. These are things I'm looking to hold for, honestly, they're a long-term thing for me, So fundamentally, yeah.
Shout out to Maurice Claret, right? He's from Youngstown.
Oh yeah, yes, right. Maurice Claret. Yeah, man. Yeah. Maurice was doing us proud up until.
yeah, man.
Now he's a 30 for 30 story.
Yeah. I remember watching the game.
And Jim Tressel. He shamed himself too.
yeah, he got caught up. Let me. But now I think is he back as the president of the university? I believe
now. He's at Youngstown State where he started off. Yeah, man.
Okay. So let me do this because Dr. Meadows is real good way efficient on time management than I am. So
we put in a nice power hour. I got a couple more minutes, for sure.
Okay, so let's do that. 7:38. Our goal was to get 1,000 people. So we would need. We might not get it in this stream, but we'll get it. So how many did you have before? 640.
Yeah.
How much was it?
I mean, hey,
how many?
It was like 636. Yeah,
636. So can we do a little bit better than that? Can I get some people to subscribe, and we can try to get all our financial brothers. I know Linnell, he's over 1,000 now.
And shout out to Linnell. He had me on his channel a few days ago, and I never would have met Linnell. Well, I may have ran into him eventually, but the point is, I saw him first on your platform. You know what I mean? And me and the brother have connected, and we talking offline and everything, and so that's been a good thing, man. So keep doing what you're doing. And I said you got brother Gabe coming up.
I think right after this, and then right after that is the Rumble, because I don't have class tomorrow. I don't go back to Tuesday. But then after I do my live streams today and tomorrow, I'm gonna cut it down to the weekend.
Damn,
I gotta pass this class. So
amen, bro. You gotta get to that doctor bag, Shay.
Yeah. I
worry about you, bro.
I'm worried about myself. So, so what we want to do is, and I have been on the, on the struggle end of repeating a course or two in my, that happened only one time.
I don't know how.
I do remember.
I don't know how I'd have done it trying to run a YouTube empire back when I was in med school. I was hardcore, man. I was ghost on my girlfriend, man. She didn't know where I was at. I was hiding for her in the library studying.
What you see, I'm gonna tell you the secret. When you upload like a 10-minute video or no editing, that's been the secret, right? Because Black YouTube don't care about editing and all that. And
Well,
then
yeah.
for the most part. And so that was my secret because I could do like 2 or 3 videos in one shot, take like 30 minutes to be done for the whole day. And then on the streams, I would do everything because I'm on like I usually don't stream until late here.
Mm-hmm.
Or 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning. That's the time people are available. So I get everything done during the day, and then I just, during the night in stream. So
yeah, well, the thing I got to get into my head too is, if you look on my channel, right, I put up an initial 5 videos. 3 of them are essentially a short video course on the ebook, for folks that are more video than wanting to read. And then I've got a couple others one on the reads and another one on some option stuff. And from the production level, I think is pretty decent and everything, but it took some time, editing and all that. And so I gotta get into the habit of just saying like, hey man, maybe it's just good enough to just hop on and just go raw, you know what I mean? And just get stuff out there, I do generally want to have a slide with mine though, so at least 1 or 2 is what I think.
Well, your stuff is actually talking about something serious. Unlike me, I talk about some serious stuff too. But
you talk about serious stuff, absolutely,
that's been my and then also one thing too with the social media business, I have a lot of friends that help me out a whole lot. A lot of good collaboration. I have a really good network, so it gives me a lot of free time too to do things that I would like. So.
Yeah, and what I'm gonna do, one more quick thing, just to be super direct. I'm gonna post on the thing. Now, I would ask folks, again, mostly through the email, through the email list to do this. But for folks that want to collab and whatnot, I'm gonna pop in my email address. Folks that got YouTube channels and wouldn't mind having me on and whatnot, we can go and do that. And,
last question. Opinion on FHA loans. Thank you, Alexander Triz. Oh my God. Yes. Opinion on FHA loans.
Well, man, I wish I could get them as an investor, right? So an FHA loan, if I'm understanding you right, that's the one where you only got to put like 3.5% down as opposed to 20% down.
Right.
So, what's the purpose of the FHA loan? Well, it's not for investors like me. I would love to be able to put 3.5% down for investment property. But honestly, I don't need it, but it would be great if I could. But yeah, I mean, if you qualify for it, for a lot of people, that's been the way that they have been able to get a house, period. One of the last houses that I flipped, actually, that the person got an FHA loan, you know what I mean? And so I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I think it's great, but it's meant to get people who are maybe like first-time home buyers, don't quite have enough money to come up with the 20% or whatever. So it's great. I wish I could get them, but I can't.
Right. No, I definitely shout out to Rich Turner and then Great Britain. Appreciate the content. Thank you. What up, my brother King Leo? Thank you, subscriber, for your thoughts. Last question, your thoughts on NACA. Julian, brother Julian, thank you for subscribing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, what you said, NACA?
NACA.
Okay, is that an acronym that I'm not familiar with? National Association of something, I'm sure.
Bro, can you clarify that, and then we're gonna let the good doctor go head on now, because you got cancer patients in the morning.
Oh, amen.
We got time dealing with you Negroes all night now.
Well, O'Shea, I'm sympathetic. You're not.
They gotta go. Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to check out a little bit.
National Association of Credit. No. NACA is not a good look. What is NACA? What does NACA mean, brother? Somebody who knows what that means. Some of y'all are smart in here. So
my next girlfriend, National Association of Credit Unions. No, I don't know about that.
Well, let's wait for the brother.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wait. My ex-girlfriend copped the house. Okay, what does it mean, brother Marcus? Y'all know what we need. We need it different. NACA, y'all. Please tell her what. Hold on a second. Google's your friend.
Oh boy. Yeah, maybe I can quickly.
NACA. Okay, National Advisory. Okay, NACA.com. So I'm here. Economic justice through home ownership. But what does it mean?
Its primary goal is to build strong.
National Assistance Corporation of America.
Oh, okay, in urban and rural areas through. Well, yes. I mean, anything that's gonna promote home ownership amongst African Americans is a good thing, because look, I follow you, O'Shea. I follow you. I follow Yvette Carnell, Tone Talks, Claude Anderson. You know, everybody who's kind of on the Black political economic space, you know, and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm well aware of the wealth gap and all that. And, you know, and one of the ways we are going to close it is not only do we have to increase the home ownership rates, okay, but honestly, so number one, that's first off, okay, because that's a way to build wealth. But the other key thing is we got to have financial institutions that are committed to loaning money on homes located in Black neighborhoods, because that's ultimately the way in which the price of your home gets pushed up. You accumulate equity and you build wealth. That's kind of one of the most reliable ways to get it, right? So if NACA is about supporting that, great. You know what I mean? Andre Hatcher, it's a grant program. Doc is rich. You can't get that stuff. Well, okay, but I'm still down for it if it gets other people into a home, because you know when in the 2008 financial crisis, where everybody took a big hit, right? Black people took a disproportionate hit because so much of our wealth was wrapped up into our houses. And then the banking institutions didn't come back in a big way to kind of loan to us and to support our housing prices. And so, you know, the crash hit us disproportionately, man. So we got to have financial institutions in addition to home ownership that support us. You know what I mean? So that's something kind of like that Freedmen's Bank that got talked about, that Frederick Douglass tried to start, you know, after emancipation. We need financial institutions that are committed to loaning money in the Black community. Because that's what you need, man. Absolutely.
Okay.
All right, O'Shea.
All right. Let me just make sure that we have all this. And guys, make sure that we can get our brother. Thank you, Richard. NACA locks you into volunteering protesting cause. NACA locks you into volunteering and protesting for their causes for the term of your loan. Okay. All right. So let's make sure that we get when Doc wakes up in the morning, we can have him. I'll promote it on my Rumble tonight. But Doc, I'm sorry for taking so long to you've been on me, but you know I've been traveling, dealing with. But I'm finally glad that we're done. You're definitely welcome back. Last words,
yes, sir. Yeah. Again, I encourage people. The folks have posted in the link and everything. You know, hold me accountable. You know, ask me stuff. I'm a resource. I will be back on the O'Shea channel, but again, you know, look for my own content as well. And let's make this a year of some equity and some ownership, folks. Got to do it.
All right, year 2020. So I think we have another good show coming right after this. Maybe me and Andre and Brother Gabe.
Andre, I want to get up with Andre for sure.
Andre doing his thing, man. Yeah, Andre, let me borrow some of that long money that he got over there, stingy. Okay, but thank you again, brother. I thank you so much. Thank you for being a mentor to people like myself, and I really appreciate you, brother, for even caring, because you don't have to, but I appreciate you anyway. So thank you so much, brother.
Appreciate you, man.
Okay, peace, Bob.
Okay, yep.